Hello everyone, how's it going? It's your friendly neighborhood infectious disease guy, Dr. Rajeev Fernando here with another update on COVID-19 dated July 9th, 2020. Let's take this off for a second. Today we're going to be talking about antibody levels. I know there's a lot of complexities out in the news, so I just want to try to break it down so you guys understand it better. So firstly, let's talk about this PCR slam dunk. We know a lot about it. If you want to diagnose an acute infection, you do a PCR test, which is a nasal test, an oral test, done deal. That will tell you that. The complex part over here is the antibody. So let's start with the first antibody, which is IgM, M as in Mandy. So this really starts to rise by day 7, plateaus, and disappears by a week number 3 at 21 days. Now, this is the MAC data you want to focus on right now. These IgG levels. This starts to rise by week 2 and goes up high over here. And this is the problem. We need to know how long this IgG level stays high and what level do we need to call it lifelong immunity. So what we know so far is we don't know where this is going. We do know some literature out there says that this can last for only 2 to 3 months. However, we still haven't really seen that many reinfections. We got to keep following this closely, but we are starting to see this last only for 2 or 3 months. The next question is, what level confers immunity? We don't know that. So for certain viruses, when you go in to get a job, you get your measles titers, your mumps titers, and that tells you slam dunk, you have a level of this, you are immune. We don't know that level over here, so that needs to be studied as well. Now, the other thing which people haven't been talking about is the T cell response. Now, with HIV, its associated immunities with the T cells, a T cell response is very big, but we still haven't found ways to actually study it, so stay tuned for that. Now, moving on further, let's talk about seroprevalence in a community, and that's really the only thing I think the serology is useful. Don't use it to diagnose an acute test. We don't know enough about it, but the only thing that epidemiologists out there can use this as a seroprevalence #herd immunity. What is herd immunity? The herd immunity, it tells you how much of antibody is present in the community, which actually gives that area complete immunity. In a bridge to get this, it usually uses 2 components, the immunity in the community plus a vaccine, and both these together ride together, and that's what causes seroprevalence or herd immunity. So let's get this out. Clearly, we don't have a vaccine right now, so we really have to depend on the antibody level in the population. Now, I served in Queens, the epicenter of the epicenter. We served in areas like Corona and also Jackson Heights. Some of these antibody levels over there are very high. And the reason I feel is when lockdown orders, for example, were given, a lot of the wealthier people in wealthier neighborhoods, they were able to stay at home and work. But these populations, maybe the Hispanic people, they couldn't stay at home. They needed to go to work to keep dinner on the table. So they left out, they kept working. And the other thing is many people, many Hispanic people in the area, they stay in very close quarters. So if one is infected, they can pass on the infection to some other people in the same house. So areas like this in Elmhurst, in Corona, we're seeing population numbers of 65% of the population in these areas are actually immune. Really important to know, where other places or other parts of New York just don't have that seroprevalence because they haven't been exposed or infected. Now, in order to really know the exact deal of what's going on, is we have to focus on something called the R0, which is the reproduction number. Now, let's take, for example, the R0 over here will tell us how many people a infected person can infect. Let's put it up for measles, for example. One person with measles can infect anywhere between 12 to 18 people in an hour if you're in a closed circle quarters. Important to know, high infectious rate. The R0 is very high over there. So the R0, what is the R0 for COVID-19? People are saying it ranges between 2 to 3, which means one person can infect either 2 people or 3 people. So let's get this number out to find out the seroprevalence of the community. So we're seeing over here, let's say, for example, I just did this a second ago. We see if the R0 is 2, we put 1 minus 1 divided by the number 2 over here, which tells us 50. So you need 50% of the population to have antibodies to give you that herd immunity. The rest of the 50 probably will come through a vaccine. Now, let's also make it interesting as well. Let's say the R0 is 3, which is one person infects 3, makes it more difficult. You put 1 minus 1 divided by 3, which means you have 67%. So you need a level of 67% of antibodies in the community to confer immunity. So that's what we need to know. The big deal over here is going to be the vaccine. As soon as the vaccine comes out, we'll be doing a lot better. Once again, it's Dr. Rajeev Fernando with an update on COVID-19. We'll see you tomorrow.